DeLuna Coffee has been fueling Florida and beyond since 2014, and now wake up Warchant. DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son Brett. When not roasting the perfect coffee blends, these FSU diehards can be found tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Go and set your sights on their Lighthouse blend. Made of 5 different coffee origins, a combination of light and medium roasted beans creates this wonderful cup of premium coffee. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. It's going down in about 24 hours. Gonna rip open that bag of Palafox Place from DeLuna Coffee and make me a pour-over cup, and it's gonna fuel my Saturday. I can't wait. But the show's gonna be pretty cool too. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code is Warchant30. Lots of great content up there that you need to go ahead and check out. If you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you. Hit the thumbs up button. We would appreciate it. Folks on the podcast apps, I don't know what you're using these days, but if you're an iTunes, Apple Podcast person, and maybe you're listening to us on something different because you're like, hey, man, you guys stopped updating on Apple. Half true, half not. Search for Wake Up Warchant on iTunes. You'll see 2 results. Tap on the one with the DeLuna Coffee logo. That's the new feed. Subscribe to that one. Do not unsubscribe to the other one because we hope to have that fixed as well. You're probably like, hey, bring in Corey already. I wish I could. He's not here right now, which is fine. So a little bit behind the curtain, we recorded a really good show. I think maybe one of the best segments we ever did. It was 25 minutes of us yelling at each other. Some of you would have felt uncomfortable because some of you are really sensitive. I don't know. You want everything to be all puppies and rainbows all the time. But we argued. I thought it was really good. But turns out we should probably have had an adult in the room, the adult being Ira, because this is kind of his account. These are the things that he is so dialed in on and has so much institutional knowledge about. But I'm sure, as you've all seen, there's a preliminary, extremely preliminary, very preliminary, I think they qualified it with, plan to renovate, refurbish, reconfigure the football stadium that Florida State plays in, also known as Doak Campbell Stadium. Now, this is a very, very bold endeavor they're setting forth on. So rather than, I guess, letting you listen to Corey and I yell about it, we're going to bring Ira on. So this whole show is going to be kind of weird because it was about 30 minutes of it, and I have to cut it out and then put what you're about to hear into the podcast while also maybe some of the things afterwards not making sense because I cut a bunch of the beginning of it out. I think you'll be all right. I trust in you folks. I think you'll be able to decipher and make it through, and everything will kind of fit together. But without further ado, here's 3 guys, 2 that usually do the podcast, and one of the overlords of the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source, talking about Doak Campbell Stadium renovations, what it means, is it a good idea, and various things in relation to that topic. And here it is. How did we get here? I feel like we've lost so much track of what's going on with the university because we're so focused on the football-only facility. Is this something that's been under discussion for a while, or is Michael Alford, the new CEO of Seminole Boosters, did he have to kind of bring a big splashy idea to the table, and today is our first glimpse of it?
You know, it's definitely been something on the radar for a while. I mean, there's a lot of issues with that stadium. You know, people who are watching this, they probably sat in that stadium at some point and they're well aware of it. You know, it's the same old metal bleachers that, have been in college football stadiums for 40, 50, 60, 100 years, whatever it goes back to. And, so it's been a constant issue of trying to figure out a way to make the stadium more comfortable. So one of the things they did, a few years ago in 2016, when they launched the Champions Club, was to try to solve some of those problems. A lot of people, are longtime season ticket holders or boosters who don't want to sit in an 18-inch metal bleacher anymore or buy the little plastic chair back thing. They wanted a better experience. So that's why they started the Champions Club in 2016. I don't think they felt at the time that they could do something as expansive as this is. So they just did the Champions Club in the end zone. Since that time, and as you said, Michael Alford takes over as the CEO of Seminole Boosters, and they've just gotten more and more complaints from longtime ticket holders. They want a better experience. And then as you look around the college football landscape and all these other stadiums that are trying to be more like pro stadiums, have more amenities, be more comfortable. Those are some of the reasons they want to do this. But then also there's some infrastructure issues with Doak Campbell Stadium. That stadium's 70 years old. There's parts of it underneath that are, really in bad shape. So they want to do some infrastructure improvements as well. So the idea is if they do this project, bring in premium seating, give better experiences. There's going to be like 10 different options of ways you can watch a game anymore, between loge boxes and sky boxes and standing room only areas and all these different things to wait is a way to kind of provide more opportunities, raise revenue. And then over time, the revenue, they believe if this works and people will pay these premiums for these special areas, that they'll raise enough money that they can actually do all the infrastructure work they want to do, as well as provide money for other facilities on campus, all from this project over the long term. So that's kind of it's one of these things that they've tried to come up with a solution to a lot of different problems by doing this project.
It should be noted real quick. Sorry, Corey. It should be noted. Folks might be like, "Well, where's all this money coming from? How come they're not using it for the football facility, or vice versa?" This is going to be, as you said, a revenue-generating sort of project, so they're able to actually get lines of credit and bond issues on this stuff, right, Ira?
Yeah, exactly. So the plan is over the next year and a half, they're going to be doing the research. None of this is set in stone. This isn't guaranteed that's going to happen. Basically, what they're doing now is they're going to take the next year to year and a half to find out whether or not people will actually sign up to buy the founder suites and all the club suites. There's going to be a bunch of different club areas, and then see what the demand is. And if they can do that, if they can sell it, if they've got those pre-sales, then they'll go to the bond market and get a bond to pay for the rest of pay for the actual construction, which could happen as soon as 2023 or and be done by the 2024 season. If that happens, then they'll pay that bond back with the revenues that they're getting from the season ticket holders over years. And so from that standpoint, yeah, it may end up not costing FSU or the Seminole Boosters anything, but they will have to take out a bond to pay for it up front. The problem with the challenge with the indoor facility is, and it's a totally different thing, you really can't bond an indoor facility because it doesn't produce revenue. That's a totally separate project. Yeah, I'm sorry, the football only facility. That's a separate project that they actually, they're raising money. They're from what we understand, they're very far down that road. That should be happening at any time, but it's just two separate projects.
Aslan and I, in something that I guess won't ever air, we had a spirited discussion about this project. And my point, he had a point, but my point was you have to do this eventually, right? This is an eventuality to keep up with just the nature of sports entertainment. Like when my son Brady, who's 12, if he wants to take his kids to a game when he's 35, it can't still be all metal bleachers. It can't still be the exact Doak that I was going to when I was 12 with my dad. So isn't that part of it too? Is like it seems like it's looking into the future because it's an inevitability anyway. And why wait till 2033 to get this thing done that has to be done when you can go ahead? Something's got to change just to keep up with the way sports entertainment is consumed now. You have to do this eventually. Why not get started sooner rather than later? Is that kind of the thought process? Because you are competing not with just with other schools. You're competing with people that live in Atlanta, that people live in Tampa, that might not that are used to pro entertainment, pro sports stadiums.
Yeah, and I think the people at FSU, the people in the athletics department, the people that sell tickets and Seminole Boosters, I feel like they don't feel like it's something they need to do in the future. I think they feel like it's something they maybe already should have done because, the challenge for Florida State, we all know this. You guys went, Aslan, you went to school here. Corey, you've been going to games here since you were a kid. The challenge for Florida State is it's not easy to get to. Most of the people that come to the games don't live in Leon County. So you got to trek all the way down here to come to games. And now what's happened, though, is the home viewing experience has gotten so great. People, I have friends that I've talked to that have done this. They've stopped buying season tickets and put that money, 1 year's worth of money that they were spending on season tickets, into a home theater. And now they watch their games in there and they invite their buddies over and they feel like that's as good of an experience. So Florida State's been doing things the last several years to try to improve the overall experience. As we said, the Champions Club, they got the big scoreboards.
The fireworks. Don't forget about the fireworks,
You
Ira.
got the fireworks. You got the Friday night parties, the get downs, all the country bands that you love to see, Corey. So they've been trying to do things to improve the overall experience for people that are like, I don't know, man, do I really want to drive to Tallahassee to watch this game and sit in metal bleachers and all that? Well, this is like the next step to it. I know obviously some fans are sitting at home going, how about just improving the product? Well, Mike Norvell is trying to do that, and that's a big part of it as well. But, even if the product is good, the feeling is that you don't want to give people a reason to not come to the games. And so if you can make it a better experience and use that money to also kind of pay off some of these other infrastructure things that they need to do, that's kind of the idea. I mean, one thing that never really gets talked about is because the stadium was built so long ago, it doesn't comply with some ADA things in terms of accessibility, but because it's kind of grandfathered in. So this is another thing that they'll be able to do with that money is make some of those improvements they need to make as well.
There's a story up on warchant.com with the happenings from, I don't know if it was a Board of Trustees meeting on Thursday, Ira, but what happened today in terms of this project maybe kind of taking a step forward?
Yeah, so where they're at right now is, they want to go out and they're calling it pre-sales, and they want to go out and really gauge the demand, but they didn't want to do that kind of under cloak of darkness. They wanted to be to let people know this is happening, to let people know this is on the radar. And so they went to the Board of Trustees today. Michael Alford, CEO of Seminole Boosters, went to the Board of Trustees to get their blessing, to get them approve him working on pre-sales. So with the way that process is going to work is they're going to start with a lot of the bigger booster type people, the bigger people a little bit higher than our pay grade, and see if they'll buy into the founders boxes. There's going to be 8 founders boxes, which I'm going to imagine it's really swanky because if there's only 8 of them in the stadium, and that's where they're starting, it's got to, obviously that's going to be an impressive big ticket item. But then they'll go from there to different areas, the field level box club suites, which is interesting. I mean, we've seen that at the Cowboys Stadium. At Hard Rock has them too, right? Yeah.
The Falcons have it too.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of times when you look at it as a fan, and I saw a lot of responses today on the Tribal Council when people were talking about it. A lot of people are like, "Why would anybody want that? Why would you want to be basically at field level behind the teams?" And really, people apparently love it because, as you said, they're doing it in a bunch of different stadiums, and it becomes like a restaurant experience. Yeah, right down there at the bottom. So they'll have the windows where they can go behind there, it's air conditioned, and have the club experience, or they can come out and they'll probably have tables and all that kind of stuff. And they'll for those people, I guess what they do during the games is they're socializing. They can watch the games on the big screens. They can't see that they're going to have a hard time seeing the field from there, but they can see the big screens and see the video boards, and they also can they're getting that up close experience to the players on the field, the coaches, and everything. They can hear everything.
You don't have to sell it. You don't have to sell it. It's a ridiculous way to watch a football game. It's crazy.
Well,
I can't believe people would do it. I know why they're going to do it.
But
apparently
that's why they're
like buying them.
Yeah.
But you can't sell it. Like there's nobody that cares about Florida State football would ever buy one of those seats because you can't see the game.
I'm with you, man. But that's I'm just explaining to you the people that do like it. That's what they say.
What I will say though, Michael Alford or whoever's listening to this or watching this, do not let the people that buy tickets in there also have seats right above. Because then again, you come into the same problem you have with the Champions Club, where those seats look empty, and you don't need the best seats in the house to look empty because they're all down low inside.
Do you guys know if that's how it works in other stadiums? Because
I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
There was talk.
I don't know if it was conjecture. I don't know if it was conjecture on the message boards, but somebody was saying the folks that will be in those field level boxes probably are going to get on the elevator and then go right up to the 7th floor and watch from from an elevated point or whatever. But I don't think it's actually going to be necessarily stadium bleachers. So
it came up there was actually a committee meeting today before the Board of Trustees meeting. In the committee meeting, it sounded like they were saying those people are going to have seats where Corey said they should not have seats. So we'll see. I don't know if that's true. Again, it's one of those things. This is so early. These drawings are all preliminary. None of this is set in stone.
We're extremely preliminary or very preliminary. What is that?
It might have been extremely preliminary. So none of that's set in stone. But whatever it is, apparently the point is some people apparently do want to be, because they keep doing it at all these stadiums. What I do think is cool is what they're doing in the South End Zone is, where the Champions Club is. They're basically cutting the Champions Club into half, or maybe by 40%. Right now, the Champions Club has 58 or 5,900 seats. They're going to reduce that to 3,000 and something, and then take that extra space and turn it into a bunch of different things. Like the ledge seats is kind of cool. Like where it's almost like you've got a high top overlooking the field. They'll have you'll be sitting in like bar stools with like a high top or a counter, and you can sit there and eat and drink or whatever and watch the game. There's going to actually be standing.
And if the team keeps playing like this, you can just go ahead and jump off the ledge.
Corey, do you have you gone to the MLS games in Atlanta?
No.
Apparently, in MLS games, one of the big things now is these standing areas where people in their 20s or maybe early 30s will go, and they just want to be at the game, but they don't really want a seat. So they'll just kind of hang around, drink, and watch the game while they're standing. And so there's
safe standing area right here, right there.
So there you go.
Elevated a little bit. I don't know if that's for students. Is that going to be for the band?
So that's where the marching chiefs have been in the past. Yeah. What the talk is that they may actually do this season, totally unrelated, is move the marching chiefs to the other end zone where they were during the COVID this past season. Apparently
more like the marching nomads, huh, Ira? The nomads, huh? They're just moving them all over the place.
Because last year when they moved them over there, they apparently liked it and it went well. So they're working it out. That may actually happen this year, totally independent of that. But yeah, that's what that area would be. But they're sofa chairs. I love the people in the sofa chairs.
High end, not low end. Not stuff you're getting from a dorm room.
This isn't a fake sofa chairs. This isn't pleather. This ain't pleather.
Yeah, this is the real deal. And the thing is with this, right, Ira, this isn't going to be an instant moneymaker in any way, shape, or form. This is not going to bring Florida State back to have high-end sofa chairs or ledge seating. You know what I mean? Or being able to stand in a glass box and see the players' behinds and nothing else. That's not going to do it. But it's something that it's part of the experience that's now in almost every pro stadium that's built now has this. And college football almost makes as much money as pro football. And you want to have a similar experience. So you have these options. For this to really work and take off, the team has to be good. But when the team gets good, you also want to have this to present to people that want to buy tickets.
Yeah, and it's just a changing demographic. And it's just but the challenge though is going to be that there are a lot of people that have those seats in the west side of the stands. That those have always been the most desirable seats because they get shade in the afternoon when the east stands are still getting beaten down by the sun in September. So those people in those seats, they're going to be directly affected by this if it happens. And so this is actually I'll give them credit. I'll give Florida State credit. They're not just kind of ramming it down their throats and saying, this is what we're going to do. If this goes through, they're going to build basically almost like a home model kind of, I forgot what the name of a purchasing center or something like that, where they're going to let people come in and experience what the views look like, not virtually, but come in and sit in seats where they can get a feel for what different options there are. They're going to let if you have a seat right now in where those chair backs are right now in the west stands, because they're reducing so many of the seats, everybody that has a seat now can't have it where they've had it for years. So they're going to have an option to have one right there or that area, obviously at a higher price, or they're going to give them the first right to pick somewhere else, by priority. So they're going to get like preferential treatment if they're going to be moved. But that's going to, it's going to cause a lot of people frustration, and probably they're going to get some nasty phone calls because people who have had those seats for years and their parents had them are not going to be thrilled about having to move or pay a lot more because they're now chairback seats. So this is going to be a difficult process. But, again, I think it's to what you were saying, Corey. I just think that they feel like you can't give people reasons to not come to games. And so make it as good of an experience as possible. And hopefully people will come. And if the product on the field gets better, then you're in great shape. If the product, to your point, if the product on the field doesn't get better, then people aren't coming no matter what. They can sleep in their own sofa. They don't need to come to your high-end
sofa. And don't you think like Aslan's generation is the last generation that would come to football games because they just love to come to football games? I don't know why I'm saying he's like 20 years younger than us.
Keep it up.
Like I just think 25-year-olds, people in college now, going to Brady's age and younger, they just don't take in entertainment in sports like this. They just don't. You can't just ask these kids that grew up like this, in my opinion, to come and sit on metal bleachers anymore. Like with their families in perpetuity. I think perpetuity. I think you need to make some adjustments to make it more like you said, a better experience, because it is so much better to watch it at home now than it's ever been. And all these people are used to going to these other stadiums and seeing what it looks like there.
It's crazy to me. Like, you think back to how we went to games, like when we were in college, and I mean, I never, we didn't know any better. I wonder if we were all 20 or 25, how we would see it. But yeah, man, when we were coming up, that's just what you did. Now you go sit in those metal bleachers, like we do it for scrimmages, and you look around and you're like, man, how do people do this? So, they want more leg room. They want bigger seats. They want chair backs. They want the amenities. And so, FSU's trying to accomplish
it.
And
the point I brought up with Aslan on the thing that won't air was that, I grew up going to Falcons games at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. That was a dump. It had an infield in the middle of the football field. You went to the Orange Bowl, which was where the Hurricanes and the Dolphins played. So we didn't know any better, because even the NFL stadiums were terrible. But now the NFL stadiums are these incredible cathedrals. You're competing with the NFL because you make almost as much money as the NFL. And so it makes sense for the amenities and everything else to, come up to 2020 and not be stuck in 1987.
We'll go around the horn here in a minute, but just in terms of this process, Ira, this is something that's not going to happen overnight, but I mean, maybe relatively speaking, it could, because I think what they propose is start working on it towards the end of the 2023 season and have this ready to go by 2024.
That's the best case scenario, is if they, over the next year, they get great response and people love it and they know they're going to be able to sell it. Then they'll come back to the board of trustees or the athletic association and get them to approve it to move forward with the project and get the bond. Then they would go through the process of getting the bond. And the company that would do the construction says that they could start at the end of the 2023 season. I looked, that's a year where they're playing, Florida down in Gainesville. So, it would probably be mid-November when the last home game is. And then they'd start construction right then. And they say that they would have it all done, everything, the west stands, the complete reconfiguration of the south end zone, and then anything they're going to do on the east side. The east side, they haven't figured out what they want to do on the east side yet, other than improve the concourses. That's one thing they want to do no matter what, is improve all the concourses, create some kind of cool areas for cool in terms of temperature for fans to go during games when it's hot. But and then have it ready, by the start of the 2024 season. That's best case scenario. If either the pre-sales don't go all that well, or they're kind of lukewarm, or if there's bonding issues, whatever could go wrong. If something goes wrong, maybe they push it back a year. But the best case scenario would be to have it ready for the 2024 season.
So for Travis Hunter's junior year,
that's how they got the commitment. Honestly,
yeah, they told him this was coming.
He was the pre-sale.
Give all those seats and the crazy. Give those to recruits and their parents. Let them stand behind the team. You know what I mean? Maybe that's how they sold Travis Hunter's. He gets his own suite.
We'll share, I guess, individual opinions on this. I'll go first so you guys can all beat it up and what have you. For me, I'm all about it. I think making Doak smaller is great. I'd rather play in a 65,000 seat stadium that's got 64,000 people in it than play in an 83,000 seat stadium that's only got 60,000 people in it, or whatever, 62 and a half, whatever number I put on it. So I'm all about paring it down, making it smaller. Then obviously that's going to raise your supplies going down. So you're going to have to, raise ticket prices. Part of my concern is just my generation, if you will. I've got friends who are successful, who have disposable income, And, they're not boosters right now. They're not season ticket holders. And I don't know how this is going to bring in kind of new clientele to Florida State football games. I think this is really just kind of a microcosm of the way football is being played on the field. No one's trying to be a 15-play drive, 90-yard team anymore. Everybody wants to hit on the big play. So this sounds like I hope they've got 6,000, sharks they think they can go after to swim up and grab these seats, because I just don't know. I feel like this is going to really alienate a large part of this fan base, because this school is so young. People of my age demographic, man, we've got 4-year liberal arts degrees, man. I don't know how many of my friends, again, I got friends who are successful. I don't know how many, they're not coming to, they haven't missed out on Florida State games because they don't like the metal bleachers. No one's been like, hey, Aslan, I'm not coming up because I don't want to send those stands. It's too damn hot. And I know those are legitimate concerns by a lot of people, but that's not what I've experienced. The only thing that I would have liked to see them kind of maybe address, and this is outside the stadium, is let's try to foster like a real, true tailgating culture. Like Florida State tailgating is just random, sparse. I mean, people are parking right out from the Bobby statue, just popping open the hatch of their SUV and just getting like a little 7-inch grill and cooking up some hot dogs. If they could make it to where you could rent certain, I mean, I know those spots go out to boosters, but if they could create some sort of thing where if my friends knew they could clunk down $1,000 and get like 2 parking spots, they could like have power run to it. That kind of stuff I think would bring out of towners in, because yeah, man, they're going to build this beautiful palace, but it's still on a dirt road with a rickety bridge to get to it, because Tampa's 4 hours, Miami's 7 hours, Orlando's 4 hours. Those things are never going to change. But to Corey's point, I guess they have to do something. I like the way it looks aesthetically. I hope this doesn't alienate and price a lot of people out, man. That's my concern.
I think it's definitely going to do that to some degree to some people. There's just no doubt that that's going to happen. But I think really the market's going to drive this. I mean, the information that they're using to do this proposal really came from 2 places, and people can read about it in the article. One was they did a survey about a year ago. They sent a survey out to people asking, what prevents you from coming to games, and what would get you to come to games? And so many of the complaints were about the amenities, the lack of Wi-Fi, leg room, small seats, all of those things, dumpy concourses that haven't been updated in forever. And so, and then they ask questions like, would you pay a little bit more, or would you pay this much more, or whatever, if you could have this, or would you be interested in suites? Would you be interested in that? And so they're taking that information and saying, okay, we believe, plus they got information from consulting firms about what's going on in stadiums around the country. And then they say, okay, well, with this information, we should be able to do this. We should be able to build these skyboxes and do all these things. But what's going to happen over this next year and a half is, what I give them credit for is they didn't just say, let's do it. Like, they are going to do the real market research is, will people sign up for it? Will people actually plunk down deposits for these tickets? And if they won't, then man, maybe Doak just stays the way it is. And they just decide, you know what, we don't have the fan base that can accommodate it, or in this area. But if the people are willing to make the commitment, then they're going to go forward.
And there'll still be, even if they don't go forward, there'll still be plenty of ledges to jump off from. In and around Doak.
And they do. I think that some of the improvements, they're going to try to make no matter what. The Wi-Fi is an ongoing issue.
Yeah, man, fix the Wi-Fi. Figure it out. Fix the Wi-Fi. Make the concourse not so dingy like a horror movie. So, they can do some things.
That's what I'm saying. Like, those things I think are going to have to happen no matter what. And concessions, from what I understand, they're making improvements to concessions, which was another thing people wanted. So some things may happen no matter what. But again, I think they see this as a way to
by the way, these chairs don't look that comfortable either, guys. Just saying.
That's the ledge seats, man. The ledge seats.
Yeah, you can jump off those. You can stand on them. You can do anything with the ledge seats.
Like, oh my gosh, James Blackman just threw another interception.
Yep,
I'm jumping off the ledge.
He's Jonesboro's problem now. Corey, I don't know if you want to have a final thought on this. Maybe rehash some of the stuff that went missing in the ether from our earlier recording that we did on this. I mean, it's something that has to be done, but you think ultimately maybe a step in the right direction. I don't want to double back to Ira right now, but Ira, I feel like the genie's out of the bottle on this one. I know they're going to, sorry, Corey, they're going to ask everybody, they're going to get pre-sales, but I mean, can they really like walk this back at this point? I mean, this thing, like, you can't unveil this and be like, maybe we're not going to do it after all.
I don't know, man. I think they would have to. I mean, if they can't guarantee that they're going to pay back that bond. I mean, the financial situation the university and the boosters are in. I mean, I just think that it would be an albatross, to keep going down this road. So I think they have to. What they would do, I don't know. My guess is Michael Alford would be replacing some salespeople if it doesn't go well before they just give up. But yeah, I mean, I think they have to have a good idea of the sales.
Yeah, and to the question that you were asking me before you pivoted right back to Ira, yeah, man, I think I just think it's an inevitability anyway. Doak college football will be around in 2050. You can't still be playing in the same stadium you played in 1987 with the same seating arrangement. You just can't. It just doesn't seem feasible for like my son's era. My son's generation isn't going to come to that. So you had to make a change. And look, man, I like the forward thinking of it. Now, Ira said it's maybe not as forward as I gave it credit for because other people are doing it. But I like that it didn't become, a huge problem until they decided to at least address it or make the steps to address it. Because look, man, you don't enhance a stadium, and I'm not trying to be funny. You don't enhance a stadium with fireworks, and it's third down. That nobody comes to football games for that. Nobody comes for that. They want to be comfortable, number one, and they come to watch a winning product. That's what they do. You got to get the product taken care of first. But I just think changes like this are, they're tangible. They're real changes. Firework nonsense and the PA playing all that nonsense. You don't need that. That's not making anybody come to a game. This is actual.
You can win free Whataburger, Corey, if you guess the score right in the 1995.
Oh, that's right. That one person, right? That one person gets the free Whataburger out of 70,000. Yeah. So I just think these are changes that will actually matter. These changes that need to be made that can actually enhance the experience, unlike fireworks and AC/DC or whatever they play. I don't even know what they play. No. I like the Burt Reynolds thing, right, Ira? We're good with that.
We love it. We love it.
I mean, I don't know. The romanticism of college sports has been dead for a long time. This is just kind of like the nail in the coffin for me. I think it just, again, man.
What an endorsement!
If Florida State, I mean, again, I know Mike Norvell's trying to do his part on the field. Like my friends, if they won football games, if they had really good non-conference games, which they're trying to do with LSU and things like that, although that's a neutral site game. Like my friends would be totally fine coming up and scalping $175 for a ticket if it's a big time game, if Florida State's on top right now. So
I'll say this though, in relation to that, I wouldn't. Like if I was an actual fan and I wanted to buy season tickets because they went 10-2 and I wanted to make sure that Brady and Stephanie had seats, I would much prefer this. Then we're going to be on metal bleachers 50 rows up next to who knows who. I think this is something that will also attract people. It might not be 12,000 or 20,000, but it will make season tickets more justifiable for some people if they know that they'll be comfortable.
And it's not like there's not going to be any metal bleachers. It's not like there's going to be any affordable seats.
You just can't be right at
you just can't really be at the 50-yard line. That's premium. Fair. And one other thing I want to say, because I knew you were about to cut us off, Aslan. And I was afraid you weren't going to give me my one last shot.
Yeah, let him have the last word.
I'm just kidding. The one thing I did want to touch on is because I saw a lot of people asking, why would we reduce the capacity? Why would you go from 80,000 to 70,000? Because it likely would be about 70,000. And, I remember I had a conversation with somebody at FSU 15, 20 years ago. And they said, man, if we had it all to do over again, we would have stopped at about 70,000. They expanded to 82,000 at the height of the dynasty. And they thought, well, man, we're going to be able to sell 82,000 seats forever. And then as soon as it literally went to 82,000 right before everything kind of went to hell.
Yep.
And the program stopped winning. And now all of a sudden, how do we fill these seats? So I think 70,000 is a great number. And if they do more with the East stands, it could go, a little bit lower than that. It could maybe go to 65 or 67. And you said that at the beginning. I was like, you're fine with that part of it. I think that's kind of where they need to be.
Yeah, people are like, oh, Doak's loudest days are behind her now after this. Come on, man, knock it off. Well,
when people, what you don't realize is it's not necessarily about the total number. Because I mean, think of how loud, places get loud when they're small. Sometimes if it's once you get over 50,000 or 60,000 people to 70,000, there's some diminishing return there. It's not getting exponentially louder with every extra 1,000.
Yeah, Florida
60,000
Field was loud. Florida Field was loud in 1990 when it was
Right.
66,000, and Georgia Tech was loud on that block kick when the kid picked it up and started running. That was a crescendo. It's one of the louder stadiums I've ever been in, Aslan. I don't know if you remember that game.
I was there, Corey. Thank you
Yep.
for bringing that up. Did you have anything else to add, Corey? We got a whole podcast coming up.
No, this has been long. I love you guys. Ira, welcome.
Thanks, man.
It's a very popular
Appreciate
topic. Anything else that we need to touch base on here, Ira? I mean, what else? Where do we go from here? All of us in life.
We do expect a lot of people are asking like what this wasn't the news they expected from football from a facility standpoint. What's going on with the football only facility? We do think that that's imminent. We believe they've raised about the amount of money they need to raise. They just had meetings recently with Mike Norvell and the engineering type people. It sounds like they're very close to announcing what they're going to do. So I think that announcement could come really soon, but it's just a totally separate project that actually has to come from fundraising, not from any kind of ticket sales or a bond.
Private dollars. I think somebody that's kind of dialed in on the message board was saying that it's probably going to be located in that green space that kind of has emerged in the last few weeks. I guess the green space between Hauser and Gate A or whatever. I guess that's kind of emerging as the front runner for the football and facility. I don't know if that's something
I've heard conflicting conflicting information. Some people say that. Some people say no, they're going to go back to next to the indoor practice facility. So we'll have to find out.
We'll see soon enough. He is Ira Schofel, the managing editor of warchant.com, and that's Corey Clark, the lead writer. All their great work's available on warchant.com. Use the promo code warchant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminoles sports source. And we'll see you over there. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Ira. Thank you, man.
Thanks, man.
Plus 12,500 on the money line for Florida State to win a national title in football over on mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT. They will match your first deposit up to $1,000. If I put a grip on it, we win it all this year. Let's go ahead and reinvest that money into the university, into the community over on mybookie.ag. Are we going to go with? Are we thinking it's Gonzaga, Corey? Gonzaga versus the world? Are they taking down everybody? Is there something else? Maybe I should look at, it's opening day right now, right? Let me see that. Let's see what we got. Can I get, let's see if I get some Braves odds for you to see how that would.
Yeah, what's their odds to win the World Series?
I don't see that, but the over-under on regular season wins for the Bravos is 91.5, Corey.
Oh, that's a good number.
Right?
That's a good number. 91 and 71. That's your 20 games over 500. You're probably still winning the division. It's a tough division. The Mets just signed Lindor, which is not great. Yeah, man, that's a great number. I guess they know what they're doing.
They do
with these numbers. That's a really tough one.
Atlanta's plus 1,000 to win it all. That's your futures.
What are the Dodgers?
The Dodgers are plus 300.
All right. So the Braves got to be one of the top 2 or 3 favorites then, or 5 favorites, I guess.
They're tied for 4th with the Chicago White Sox. What did the White Sox do this offseason?
They made some plays. And they also got some really young superstars coming up. I thought they just lost one of their best players though for the year. I don't think that's a bad bet with the Bravos. Why don't you go ahead and put 10,000 on that?
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then what are you winning? Then you're winning $100,000. You're getting 10-1 odds on that.
That's right. That is correct, Corey. We can flip 10 to 100 grand. What are we going to do? We'll buy ourselves luxury boxes. Do you want field level? Luxury boxes where you can rub
see
the shoulder,
player's thighs?
Yeah.
That is the one thing in all these new stadiums that is the dumbest idea that I don't understand why people would do that. You can't see the game.
I know. Atlanta has it too, right? Atlanta's got it as well, don't they?
Yeah, and I think the Cowboys have theirs in the end zone. I think the Falcons is like on the sideline.
It is.
So you can't. All you're doing is seeing players sitting down. You see their calves. And maybe if they stand up, you can see under the bench and see if a play's being made. It's just I've never understood that new idea. I guess it's cool to be on the field, sort of, but you'd also rather see the game, I would think. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, man. Why don't you just put a grand on that or 10,000 on that, and we'll see what happens.
All right, there we go. We'll do it. MyBookie.ag promo code is WarChant. On to the ponies we go then, Corey.
Hey, before we do that though, we got to talk about the story that broke, the news that did break on Thursday was our friend Nate Jack has entered the transfer portal. He averaged 3.6 points per game. He announced it on social media on Thursday. I guess that's not a huge surprise. I think he saw the writing on the wall about who was coming in and where his minutes might be, and he can go somewhere where maybe he can get some more shots up. But never. I think they thought he had a chance to be like a PJ Savoy type, like instant offense off the bench, hit 2 or 3 threes a game. It just never materialized. I think he hit 28 or 30 threes for his career. He wasn't a good enough shooter to overcome some of the deficiencies he had on defense, so that's why he never really played a whole lot. And but he seemed like a good teammate. And he had 18 against NC State earlier this year, so we wish him well. Not a huge loss. I'm not trying to diminish the man. Not a huge loss, but you hope he has a solid future.
There you go. 28. He knocked down 28 3-pointers in his career in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
To the mailbag, Warpath Nole. Wake up! 2 questions. Has Jordan Travis bulked up at all this offseason? So much potential, but he was hurt almost every game last year. Yeah, man, 206, 207 is what Norvell said on Wednesday, and he's continuing to actually put on weight despite the fact that it's spring football and it's god-awful hot out there. Although it really hasn't been god-awful hot. It's been quite nice and mild in Tallahassee this spring. So he has bulked up. I do wonder, I don't know how much of his injuries or it's just not having, enough requisite bulk, or is it maybe just the way he's built, the bone structure, bone density, things like that. But nonetheless, it's an improvement. That's up from what he was at last season. Let me pull it up. I have it in front of me. Last year on the roster, they had Jordan at 200. So 7 pounds, might not sound a lot to you folks, but on a person that's 6'1", 7 pounds of muscle is,
yeah, we're assuming it's muscle. Like it's easy for the rest of us to gain 7 pounds in a couple of weeks, just by eating chili dogs. But 7 pounds of muscle isn't the easiest thing to do, right? It's not like something that you can. No, and it's probably more than that. I mean, what was he at the end of the year? He could have been 195, 193, something like that. But what's interesting, or maybe the most encouraging thing that Norvell talked about, was he said he's up to 206, 207, and he's faster than he's ever been. So he didn't lose any of that makes him Jordan Travis. Because you see that sometimes when people get too bulky and then they're not. I'll tell you what, do you remember Caleb King? Do you remember that name at all?
Yes.
He was a running back at Georgia maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I can't remember. I saw him as a junior in high school. He actually played against Marcus Ball. You remember him at the linebacker?
He was awesome. He was so underrated, man.
Yeah. So Caleb King, as a junior in high school at Parkview, was the best running back I've ever seen. He was incredible.
Darius Walker?
Just unbelievable.
Darius Walker?
Much better than Darius Walker, and I love Darius Walker. He was incredible. He was the best running back I'd ever seen. And even in that Stevenson game, they lost to Stevenson, but he ran for like 250. He was the only option they had. They couldn't throw. Stevenson had 3 guys that could have played in the NFL just at linebacker. I can't remember their names. Marcus Ball was one of them, but you can look at that team. It was loaded. He ran for like 220 yards. He ran for over 2,000 yards that year. He was just a phenom. And then the next year in the offseason, he had put on so much muscle that he just lost some of that shiftiness. He just lost it. He lost a little bit of burst and a little bit of that shiftiness that made him unique. And I always think about that when you hear about running backs putting on muscle, that, man, Caleb King, it didn't help Caleb King. Like he lost some of that flexibility or dexterity or whatever you needed. But it sounds like Jordan Travis has not done that. But that's one thing you do worry about when you hear these elite kind of athletes, these shifty athletes, putting on that kind of muscle, if they can run with it, if they can use it correctly. But it sure sounds like he can. I just wanted to talk about Caleb King.
I know, that was great, man. I love it. Jordan Wilson, more of a blocking or receiving tight end? Thanks for all you guys do. You are the real GOATs.
Blocking.
Yeah, you look pretty good out there. We saw him on last Thursday, I think, or maybe it was on during Mondays. Was Monday available to us to go look at? Yeah, Monday. He was participating in individual drills. He wasn't doing any 7-on-7, I don't think. He definitely wasn't doing any 11-on-11 as he continues to rehab from his Achilles, as our 5-star reviewer pointed out the other day. on iTunes. So thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, he's got a little bit. He looks a little bit multifaceted to me. I think I might have undersold his skill set. Still, though, I don't know. Again, how much of what his war is in Corey's parlance to Florida State's 2021. Cam McDonald got a big shout out by Mike Norvell on Wednesday too for what that's worth. But yeah, man, he's he'll factor in. He'll be in the rotation, I'm sure. So it's always good, man. The more bodies you got to throw at a problem is always a good thing. Thank you for the questions, Warpath Noel. Seminole Life, one of the better avatars on Warchant, Johnny Moxon and Lance Harbor of my boys from West Canaan High School. Go Yotes.
Yeah.
Wake up, fellas. 2 questions. How concerned are you guys about our depth in the trenches? Sounds like there is a large drop-off here, and we all know the injury bug has been biting FSU pretty hard lately. I don't really know if you can really even overstate it. That's a problem. That's a problem. Although, I mean, maybe on the inside they're okay because they got Coop, Lovett, and Briggs. So
that's another guy, by the way, we should point out that Norvell twice, unsolicited, has mentioned Fabian Lovett.
Yeah.
Is like taking this next step in mindset, this next step, and whatever Mike Norvell likes to see out of a player. He's really liked what he's seen out of Fabian Lovett. So that's a positive too. But yeah, wouldn't you say, that's one of the bigger concerns on the team is it always is though, right? That's always going to be a concern. Even every place but Alabama, they're always going to be concerned about their depth on the line of scrimmage. But I just think Florida State, you have 3 or 4 guys that you might feel pretty good about. Lovett's one of them, obviously Johnson, Keir Thomas when he gets healthy. But, man, all those other guys are question marks, big ones.
Yeah.
And your first string might be pretty darn good, like one of the best in the ACC maybe.
Whoa,
but if a couple of those –
let's not use any superlatives.
Hey, I didn't say best in the country like we did last year. Just I'm limiting it now, just the best in the ACC.
How about the best in the Atlantic? One of the best in the second –
One of the best in the Atlantic.
Best, maybe the second best in the Atlantic.
Yeah, there you go. That's not bad. That's not a bad idea. Well, you're aiming for number 2 in the Atlantic. But yeah, if a couple of those guys go down – that's a big concern. It's just you don't know if these guys are any good. Jermaine Johnson's pretty good. Keir Thomas is good. Cooper's pretty good. Lovett can be good. Other than that, you don't know anything about these guys. Nothing.
Yeah. And
if they're all just average football players and you lose a couple of these good ones, well, yeah, that's going to be a really big problem.
Yeah. Hopefully some of these true freshmen can, whether it's Byron Turner, maybe can kind of add some instant help. Some of those edge rushers they had, at least I know we've always talked about, you've mentioned, the whole Jimboism about the closer you are to the ball, the harder it is to impact as a true freshman. But maybe these, rangy, wiry guys can at least maybe help rush off the edge. But yeah, the interior is a concern because Briggs is like your flex guy. I mean, Briggs I think is serviceable, but when you got Coop, Lovett, if both those guys were to go down, heaven forbid, then you're talking about Briggs and like True Thompson.
Well, even if they don't go down, you can't play Robert Cooper 70 snaps.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So he's only going to be playing half the game or two-thirds of the game at most. Same with Lovett. You just can't play your defensive tackle 70 snaps. So if those other guys, it's a big drop-off, that's going to be a big problem.
Well, so then does Adam Fuller get benefit of the doubt then? That he still doesn't have enough? No? Okay. Second question from Seminole Life. I meant to ask this last week, but how surprised were you with Marvin Wilson's pro day numbers? In particular, 23 reps on the bench. Found it telling, surprising, and disappointing. Yeah, man. He did not have a very good pro day. I think his broad jump wasn't even 9 feet. I think I can even broad jump 9 feet. Now, granted, I'm carrying 150 pounds less body mass than he is, but I'm also not trying to. I'm also not trying to get paid, $3 million to use my physical tools in hand-to-hand combat practically. So that's a bit of a concern. The 23 reps. I mean, it wasn't 13. It wasn't Kevin Durant not even being able to get 2 reps up or whatever. I never took Marvin. I think maybe that might have been maybe the wrong read we had on him. And I'm speaking me as a fan more so than like a journalist with a lowercase j. Like we just thought he was just this man-child, like just bull, poor man's, like something between Timmy and Eddie Goldman. But I think his is predicated on slipperiness, like quickness. as athleticism. So I wasn't that concerned about his bench numbers, but listen, I hope he gets drafted, man. I really hope. I took no umbrage with what he did. I know I'm in the minority on that. He apologized for it, and I don't know how much of his apology was sincere or just the fact that he realized that it probably has hurt his draft stock, having to answer that question every time he speaks to a general manager about, hey, what happened with you and your coach? You went on Twitter. So I get that there's a lot of kind of animus towards him. I don't have it. I hope it works out for him, but I don't really know what he's marketing himself. I wonder what he's being when draft rooms are being assembled at these 32 teams, and his name pops up. Like, what are they talking about? He's a Hagen's guy. I like the guys that Hagen's churns out. That naughty kid in Kansas City is pretty good. I had one of his guys when I was in Houston a few years back.
Yeah, I also think that, you look at some of that, again, 2019, 2018, you look at that film, he could be
so
dominant
far
at
away,
times.
though, Corey, right? I mean, 2019, 2 years ago, that's an eternity.
But if you believe him, which we should, that he was hurt, then there you go. You're like, look, he's proven it. It's not like he just became a bad football player. Why would he have done that? He can play when he's healthy. And I just think, look, man, you can watch Marvin Wilson. He is not weak. He's asked some of those guards that tried to block him. He's very strong in short bursts. And so I don't think they're really. I don't think the bench press is a big deal. I just think it's his health. I think they want to be 100% convinced of his health, and I also think he is a guy that I think if you're a GM, you're not drafting him in the first round clearly, but I think a third or fourth round, if you can get a guy that maybe projects to be a high caliber defensive tackle for 10 years, I think he's worth the risk, man. I think he's done enough in his college career, notwithstanding 2020, which is just a goofy year for everyone. I think he had done enough in his college career to warrant giving him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to him as a football player. I think he has a chance, if he's healthy, to be a solid defensive lineman for a decade.
Yeah, I do wonder how important the health is. I mean, because we hear about Landon Dickerson.
I think that's much bigger than what he did on Twitter.
Yeah, but
I just think that's a much bigger deal.
By the same token, though, like Landon Dickerson's a legitimate, day 2 high-end pick. And it's like, man, that guy, serious injuries, like season-ending injuries, I don't know, 3-4 years in a row. Meanwhile, Marvin, again, like when I got here in 2018, I remember he didn't participate in most of spring because he tweaked his knee early on in spring. And then 2019, first day of fall camp, he also tweaked his knee and then didn't practice that entire week leading up to the Boise State game. Ends up injuring his hand towards the end of that year, like after Taggart got fired. Doesn't even play in the Boston College game, doesn't play in the bowl game.
Yeah.
Then 2020 apparently had a torn meniscus. That guy, he's been hurt. He's missed significant time every single season. He's played college football.
It's a red flag, right? It's a red flag. I don't think you can't draft him red flag. But it's a red flag to health.
How come that doesn't apply to Landon Dickerson? I guess maybe I don't know the
dude, would you draft Landon Dickerson? There is no chance I would draft Landon Dickerson in the first few rounds. Not because he's not a solid football player. He's proven he can play, but he has not proven he can stay healthy. He's just had injuries all over the place. And it's not his fault. It doesn't, like I used to always say about Jordan Travis or Devin Travis. It doesn't mean he's not a tough kid, but some people's bodies just are built differently and they get injured where you can't play. And the durability. Hey, as I like to say, Aslan, the best ability is availability.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
That.
And with both those guys, I would have a real hard time drafting them early on just because I'd be worried. I'd be gun shy about, if y'all were this injured in college, especially Dickerson, because Marvin was injured, but he played through it. Not great, but he played through it. But, if you can't stay healthy for a 12-game college season, what are you going to do for a 17-game NFL season?
We're at the 50-minute mark. We got like 5 more questions.
Let's go. Let's roll through them.
NFL.com analyst Lance Zierlein has Dickerson going 31st overall to the Chiefs.
All right, man. Good luck with that.
He's being projected as a first-round pick. I'm just telling you what they're saying on the streets, man. Primetime 92, boys, wake up. Wanted to ask about your younger years. This is life advice. When you were a senior in college or a young professional, is there one thing you could go and change? What would it be? For example, start a business, move across the country, not care as much about the small stuff, etc. I would have gone on the backpacking trip that all my buddies went on after college. I think I said I didn't have the money, which I don't really think I did, but I probably could have found a way somehow to go on it. That was a really cool thing, which has also affected me trying to go on trips with them subsequently because they've been to all these great places. I'm like, hey, let's go there. And they're like, we've already been. And I would take, as a senior in college, man, I would have taken internships so much more seriously. I mean, I keep saying this every time you ask us a question about this. Man, when you're, you're 20, 21, everyone keeps telling you how much time you have, and yeah, it's true. But you have a good idea of what you want to do. I really believe that. You might not ultimately end up doing it, but you have a pretty good idea of what you want to do. So, like, get an internship doing that. Get involved in it. Immerse yourself in it to figure out whether or not you really want to do it, and you can pivot. And if you do end up knowing your instincts are on point and that's what you do want to do, you are so much far ahead of the game. I have this job right now because I interned for Warchant when I was out of college. If I would have figured that out a lot earlier on, who knows what would have happened. That's my advice.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything. The one mistake I made in my career, well, there were probably a few, but I left to go be an editor at Valdosta from Thomasville when I was 22, maybe, and it was just I don't know why I did it because it was more money, but I wasn't ready for it. I just looking back on it, I completely despised the person I worked for to the point that it's just incredible that somebody like that could be allowed to be in a position of authority. And I just wouldn't have done it. Or I would have quit. I would have said, I'm going back to Thomasville. I'm going to wait for another job to open up because this is ridiculous. That's the only real, but you live and learn, man. You make mistakes. You take jobs and then realize, okay, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. And the other thing I would have done is I went up to Gwinnett and I worked there, here where I'm at right now for probably 5 years, covering high school sports. And I love high school sports, and we treated it like professional sports. Lou Williams, Francoeur, they all came through. Maya Moore. I got to see a lot of great athletes, but I kind of got stuck in a rut where I was in my mid 30s, I think, early 30s, still covering high school sports. And I just thought I could do more than that. I could end up doing what I'm doing now. And I just got too comfortable. And I should have, it kind of took an actual outing at work. It took like an incident at work with a boss to realize I don't want to be here anymore. And it shouldn't have taken that. I should have just realized on my own, don't get comfortable just because your friends are up here and you're around your friends, you're around your buddies, and you're around your family. Go start looking for a better job. And I just should have done that sooner. That's all.
Also, if you got a big boy job, it's 40 hours a week and you got benefits and all that sort of stuff. Put money in your 401k. Do it. Even if it's only $50. Do it.
Yeah, there you go, Aslan.
Really
there you go, A-Train. There you go. You tell them.
Tennis Ump, wake up, enjoy your DeLuna coffee, as I did this morning. I have to imagine that there is almost a palpable buzz in Tallahassee with the visitor list for the spring game. I don't know if I can confirm that or not. Have you asked any of the current players regarding this and their thoughts? Excited about the future. Go Noles. Thanks for what you guys do. I kind of, it wouldn't be bad. I wonder if they do keep up with recruiting. Or they just not, hey, man, whatever. They know there's some 4-star coming in that's going to try to take their job. I don't know how dialed in they are with that. But I'll tell you what, man, the premium recruiting board does seem to be a lot more hopping at this point than in a year than it has in a long time. So these practices being open and these players somehow finding the loophole to be able to actually go and watch it seems to be paying off. So I don't know if it's a palpable buzz, but then again, I stay inside mostly. So.
Yeah, and I've never really known how much players get. I don't think players are really excited one way or the other. I mean, I'm sure they want good players to join the team, but they're not. I don't know that they're on the boards all the time. Like, oh man, we got a 4-stars visitor. We made his final 8. I don't know that they're doing stuff like that necessarily. But yeah, man, and it's not just the 2022 class. It's the 2023 class, right? Like Florida State's very early, very preliminary. But they seem to be crushing it for 2023 as well.
Yeah, man, they're casting the net out far and wide. I mean, David Johnson, I think he was even saying that when we spoke to him a few weeks ago, right? Just about the fact of how many numbers he has in his phone. Because man, you're on kids now, 9th grade. You're looking at your 2023 class, your 2024 class. It's crazy how things work. So they got a plan. They're putting it in action, and hopefully when the dead period ends, it'll even ramp up further. Captain D_63, wake up, Warchant listeners and DeLuna drinkers. Corey, Aslan, let's just say Scotty Barnes and Raekwon Gray both come back with what we have coming in this fall. Would you guys give them a chance to reach the Final Four and a possible championship?
Yeah, I mean,
but that's
might as well say, Renegade's going to be changed into a unicorn for the football games because Scotty, I mean, I can't imagine that Scotty Barnes would come back. But yes, if Scotty Barnes did come back, I think they're Final Four good. I think they'd be one of the 3 or 4 favorites to win a national championship. Even without Scotty Barnes, if Raekwon Gray comes back, they are Final Four good and will be one of the 10 favorites to win a championship. I mean, they're going to be, if Raekwon Gray comes back, they're real good.
Yeah.
They have a chance to be maybe his best ever team, or right on the heels of the 2020 team. They would be an exceptional basketball team.
At least talent-wise.
Talent-wise, yeah, you never know how it's going to fit in.
On paper.
Yeah, because you're going to have a lot of newcomers that have to mix in. But talent-wise, it would be very good.
And real quick too, if Scotty stays, one of those guys isn't coming. So it's kind of a
Well, no, they can't. They've signed. They're
really?
Coming. Yeah, they are signed. I mean, I guess they could say I'm not coming, but they're signed, sealed, and delivered. So I don't think that would matter to them. And really, I don't think it would matter either way. But look, they recruited, just so we all know, we're all have the understanding here. They recruit like Jalen Worley because he's like, well, what? I don't want to come if Scotty Barnes is going to be the point guard. I'm not going to get to play. And they're like, look, man, you don't have to worry about that. He won't be here.
Yeah.
Same thing with Matthew Cleveland. You don't have to worry about MJ Walker. He's not going to be here. You're going to get your minutes. The Caleb Mills, when he was coming from Houston, probably wanted to know, hey, is MJ coming back? Look, they've had all these conversations. This is the big boy recruiting that Florida State's now in, where you can recruit 5-stars when you already have 5-stars on campus because you know that 5-star won't be there next year. So I think that's how they recruit.
All right, let's keep it lean. We got, I think 3 more questions bundled in here to Captain D's question before we get to the last 2. All right, Corey, our basketball team calls themselves the New Bloods of the ACC. Since 2014, our football team has been not relevant in the ACC. Should we come up with a slogan in 2021 to give them a purpose and an attitude and some fire moving forward? I feel like we haven't done a slogan in a long time. Hold on to that thought, Corey. Different teams have their turnover chains, belts, etc. Instead of having that, come up with some kind of slogan like the basketball team that shows others you're coming to play with a purpose, attitude, and some fire, and that we are back and ready to take our spot in the ACC. Sign for warchant.com, hit the thumbs up in the lower right corner, and drink your delicious DeLuna coffee and hot chocolate. Go Noles. Thank you, Daryl. Corey, slogan? Do it
for the football team.
Yeah.
Oh, how about
or like a Maya? What happened to the season mottos? Like there's
let's roll, something like that.
Bingo.
I would say, man. I just something with respectability in there. The best ability, our 2 favorite abilities: availability, respectability. That's my motto.
XDQ004, wake up! No thought-provoking this week, or nothing thought-provoking this week. I'm still optimistic about this season as I believe the upgrade of talent on defense is paying big dividends will pay big dividends against all of our opponents except Clemson. That being said, who has to be at his best in order for us to get to 7+ wins? I say Jermaine Johnson. This is XDQ. This is a money year for him, and if he plays his potential, I believe we will have at least 36 sacks and 80+ quarterback hits, hurries, and that should help us win the pick'em games. What are your thoughts? What one player has to play at his best in order for us to get 7 wins? I'm always going to say the quarterback. If any question that doesn't handcuff me to one player only on defense, anything, I'm always going to say the quarterback. But Jermaine Johnson's probably close. I mean, if he's as disruptive as you think if he helps be part of a 36 sack performance effort unit, that probably helps those Louisville, Pitt, whatever 50-50 games are on our schedule this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the answer for me as the quarterback. I think that's where you can have the biggest war, the biggest win above replacement is having a good quarterback, having a good season or a good game. That really helps. But I think that's not a bad second person, right? Maybe Parchment, maybe one of these receivers. But I think that having a legitimate, consistent pass rusher is probably number 2 on the list behind quarterback. So that's it. Jermaine Johnson's a fine answer. Yeah. I'm with you. I always go with the quarterback in a question like that.
Toafili might not be bad either. I mean, because if he's as explosive as we think he could be, big chunk runs, that'll certainly help as well. So, but yeah, I'm always going to pick somebody with the ball in their hand, man, because it's offense, man. Offense.
Right,
Last one.
right.
Here we go. Future_Nole_Doc. Wake up. It's been a while since my last post. Medical school has had me crazy busy since then, but I'm on spring break right now.
Nice.
Shout out, Future Nole Doc. I was last 2 years ago, I was seeing a girl that was in PA school, and she never had time for me. So I'm glad you have time for us, Future Nole Doc. I appreciate you. In regards to the last scrimmage, Norvell mentioned the scrimmage was scripted. Does this mean he intentionally put the team in difficult spots to see how they would respond and push them? Yeah, man, he said that. I mean, he said that he's put them in like high leverage. I don't know if high leverage is what we'd use. I know that's what we use in baseball, but put them right on the spot, try to get a 2-point conversion, see how they respond to that. They would, on Wednesday after the end of practice, he had them go do goal line inside Doak. So yeah, I mean, he's constantly trying to shock their system, like get them out of feeling comfortable, making them, I guess, feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. So.
Now, do you remember, would they start a series on like the 6 or start a series like 2nd and 11? Like, would they do stuff like that in the scrimmage? Is that
it was
or
fluid?
3rd and
There was
12,
some
stuff like that.
There were some parts when they would go from the 1s and 2s and they would just spot the ball at like the 20 and then reset. But then there were other ones when they would actually, I guess maybe depending on if they got a few first downs, they'd run the punt team out there and have the punt team just punt the ball. There was no live rush or anything, or there was a rush on the punter, but there was no return. And then they would start the drive from where the punt was fielded. And I remember on one of the occasions it was like inside the 5-yard line. So
okay, all right.
So yeah,
okay.
I had them kind of deal with their backs to the goalpost, things like that. Are the wide receivers in the scrimmages making the mistakes freshmen and rookies and or veterans are this what? I haven't seen Pokey drop the ball. I haven't seen Cam drop the ball. I mean, the folks that are dropping balls are the freshmen, but as Corey's kind of pointed out, man, it's all freshmen. I mean, the receivers, it's like Pokey and a bunch of 18-year-olds. So it's kind of that's what's going to be. Guys that are making mistakes are probably going to be the young guys because there's so many of them out there. But again, I think Brian Robinson, he had a false start in the scrimmage and didn't do anything else. But then on Monday's practice that we were able to watch, had a catch. He had a nice catch in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. He caught a touchdown when they were like in the tight zone. They were running plays from like the 10-yard line or so. So he caught a touchdown. That was good to see. So he responded well. Were the mistakes on offense evenly spread with each quarterback, or was it mainly one of them? The drop passes, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to put that on any of the quarterbacks. I don't think one of the quarterbacks has been more snake bitten by drops. I don't think like Jordan's throwing a more catchable ball than McKenzie or vice versa. But the false starts, which I thought was kind of, I don't want to say weird, but I think either Gene or Ira mentioned that the scrimmage, there was a lot of pre-snap penalties. There was 2 that I remember from an offensive lineman, but he was a walk-on. So I haven't seen first-team, second-team guys that you're going to be relying on make those kind of errors, those mental mistakes. So were they evenly spread with each quarterback? Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen McKenzie or Jordan go out there and be like, hey, man, we have to grade them on a curve because of this. They've gotten the same sort of performance out of the guys they've been running with, whoever's been back there. Last question, have they ever put an extra man on one side of the ball during practice? It would seem if you can block or move the ball against 12 men in practice, then you can move the ball against 11 in a game. Thanks and go Noles.
Huh? I've never even heard. I don't know if do coaches do that?
I don't think so. I like it though. They do it in the fight game. Like guys will spar for like an MMA fight, like UFC, and they'll do like a 5-round spar, but each round will be a new guy, so that they're fresh.
Right. So he's not. So they're fresh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe basketball teams could practice against 6. Get used to. I feel like I remember an opposing coach saying that one time when they were getting ready to play Florida State. This was years ago. That he had practiced with 6 scout team guys to make him feel what it would feel like to be against the normal Florida State defense. So maybe I don't know if that's I don't think you would do 12 necessarily because you're also you want your quarterback to see things correctly and we have 7 DBs out there and so probably not, but I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing. It also what it would do, it'd help the defense's confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
They start making more plays. Like y'all can't move the ball on us.
Oh man, yeah, that's right. I will say in that vein, and as we go out, when they do 7-on-7 at practice, they'll actually blitz sometimes. Like not full out blitz because they're in a green, non-contact jersey, the quarterbacks, but they won't just drop all 7 guys back into coverage. Because when you do that 7-on-7, it kind of does become this weird quasi exercise where it's like, man, this isn't football. So they'll rush and pressure the quarterback to a certain extent to kind of hurry up the clock. So I remember seeing that even when I was covering high schools and the previous administration, previous regime, I never saw them do that in 7-on-7s. So I thought that was kind of cool. That's a nice little wrinkle. So yeah, he's trying to create a very stressful, straining practice, which I'm all about, man. Make it tough on these guys because they're all about to get paid. They're all going to get paid tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's Corey, right. That's right, baby.
Is your weekend going to be fun? You think you can have a good weekend ahead of you? Feel good.
It's supposed to be nice weather up here, so yeah, I think I am going to have a good weekend. Don't really have any plans yet. Brady doesn't have any tournaments or anything, so we'll just maybe we'll take some walks, maybe go on a hike or something, something like that. But yeah, I think I'll have a good weekend. But yeah, I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope everyone listening has a great weekend. Right. I hope that dog in the back stops barking. I don't know what you like. I have a neighbor whose their dogs will come out twice a night and just bark for 20 minutes at nothing. And then go back inside. So at least they're not outdoor dogs necessarily, but I don't know what. Can I call the cops? Are you allowed to call cops on barking dogs?
Yeah, I think it's frowned upon.
Probably, yeah. And they're nice neighbors, and they seem like nice dogs. They just bark nonstop when they go outside, like, oh, there's a tree, there's a tree, there's a tree, and they're just barking nonstop. But either way, despite the dogs, I plan on having a great weekend. I hope everyone else does too. You guys know I love you.
All right. North Carolina comes to town, 6 p.m. today, Friday, 2 p.m. on Saturday, and then noon on Sunday. So if you're in town, maybe go check out the Noles. If not, we'll have a thread on the FSU baseball forum on warchant.com. Promo code warchant30. Hit the thumbs up on the way out if you haven't done so already, and drink some DeLuna coffee. He's Cora Maslon. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.